Today we're going to be talking about angelfish. These guys right here, what to do, what not to do, and their long-term care. Stick with me and we'll be right back. George here and welcome back to the channel. It has been a while since I have been on here and I apologize for that, but there really has been a lot of things going on behind the scenes with me personally, so I haven't really been able to put one of these videos together. Now we're going to talk about today a couple of different things. We're going to get some updates on some projects that we talked about here several videos ago. And we're also going to talk about angelfish in specific, and there's a reason for that. If you notice the two tanks beside me, there has been some stock changes in those tanks. When we come back, we're going to talk about that, so hang in there with me and we'll get right to it. So the first thing we're going to talk about is this particular tank here, and as you'll notice, there is an absence of angelfish in this tank, and actually that is true on several tanks in my gallery. And the reason for that is I had several mating pairs, and what I was finding out as they were becoming more mature and they were laying eggs along some of the leaf areas on the plants, the stem plants that are in here. What was happening is they were dominating the tank. In other words, all the other fish that were in the area, if they came near those plants, and in a 20-gallon like this, that's not a lot of room to do that. You really have to have a larger tank. But getting back to what I was saying, in this tank specifically, they were laying eggs along these stem plants, as I said in here, and what was happening is they were guarding those eggs so closely and being so aggressive against the other fish in the tank that I just had to finally remove them. The one thing that I will tell you about angelfish is you really do have to have a lot of room for them, and if you are planning on have mating pairs, which was the mistake that I made, I'm learning all the time just like you guys are. So when you do have mating pairs of angelfish, not a great idea to leave them in a community tank. So as I said, the angelfish situation really came down to the aggression of the angelfish in this particular tank, which was a mistake on my part. It had nothing to do with the fish themselves. The expectation that these fish would behave the way they did is very natural. I mean, they were a breeding pair that tried several times to lay eggs in the tank, and I would have to destroy those eggs or remove those eggs, and it just wasn't a good thing. And the third time it happened, which they'll either lay them along the glass or they'll lay them on a leaf, which is the preferred place for the angels to do that. If you have stem plants such as you can see in my tank here, and that happened in several tanks. So this is something that really, I have no angelfish right now at all because I had 4 tanks with breeding pairs in them, and every one of them were community tanks, and just a really, really bad idea. But as I was saying, the preference is with angels that if there is stem plants in the tank, they're going to if the leaves are broad enough, they're going to lay the eggs on there, and they're going to really guard them. And what was happening was really just a lot of aggression towards the other fish in this tank, and it's normal, and I understand that. As I said, that's something that it was something that I learned. As I said before, we're always constantly learning, and I'm no angelfish expert, but I did do a lot of reading about this. I found a friend who had a couple of 150 gallons that really wanted these angels, and in fact I cut the leaf off from the angels that had laid the eggs in this particular tank, and I gave him that too, and they are actually guarding that leaf. So it's a pretty strange situation. I would have thought that they would have just eaten the eggs at that point, but they didn't do that. He has them in a nice 150 gallon that doesn't have a ton of fish in it except for some other angels. And we'll see how he does on that, and I'll give you an update on that in the future here. But getting back to what I was saying, be careful when you are doing angelfish in a community tank. If you have a breeding pair, take them out of there, because you're just going to cause yourself a lot of grief as they get older and bigger. A 20 gallon is really way too small as these fish mature anyway. And so again, on my part, that was just a mistake that I made, and it took a couple of times for me to fully understand what was going on, because angelfish by nature are cichlid. They're somewhat aggressive anyway, and also they're not really great parents the first couple of times they lay eggs. So the second and third time they were becoming much more protective of the eggs, and really causing a lot of problems for the other fish in my tank as far as chasing them around or keeping them away, which just, you know, disrupted the whole tank. So it was just something I had to do. I'm not saying I'm not going to keep angelfish anymore in the future. I'm just saying I'm going to be a little bit smarter about how I do that. And probably it's not a problem to have a breeding pair of angelfish in a 20 gallon tank. You just can't have it be a 20 gallon community tank, because it's just not going to work out, as I said. And I don't want to, you know, stay on this subject and, you know, go over and over and over it with you. Most of you who raise angels or know anything about them are going to say, well, that was dumb in the first place, but you should have known better. Well, I didn't. And the bottom line is that I've solved the problem. And we'll be getting some new angelfish that are smaller for this tank here. There's some breeds out there that don't get huge. I'm looking at that right now, and we'll see how that goes for the future. And when we come back, we're going to talk about a couple of projects that we have been discussing over the last couple of months. And yeah, I haven't gotten onto those projects yet because, unfortunately, there's a lot going on out there that is preventing us from getting the supplies that we need to do these projects. My son's tank, the tank down in my great room, which we talked about, where we were going to put the discus fish. You know, there's a lot going on with me trying to get everything to do these projects, so I've just been filling in with some videos just to have a presence online here. But I'm hoping within the next week or two that that's going to resolve itself. When we come back, we're going to talk about a couple of those projects and discuss what the future is, and I hope you'll hang in there with me. So to update you on a couple of the projects that we've been talking about doing here over the last couple of months, the number one tank that is really been a problem for me is the discus tank in my great room. Now that tank is basically ready to really have fish added to it, but unfortunately the fish that I had intended to put in there are no longer available, and trying to get discus fish right now in the middle of this pandemic and with the holidays and everything, a lot of fish shipments have just not come in. Now I do have some of those fish on order, and of course they're going to have to go through the quarantine period and so forth. There is also some issues with some of the plants that I wanted to put in there, and a piece of wood specifically that I wanted to put in there as well. Now, as you know, discus fish need really wide open spaces. It's going to be a more simple design than I have currently in that Fiji Peninsula tank. It's a 40 gallon, and it's really going to be a design that is not very sophisticated, in the sense that what I'm going to be using for hardscape in there is pretty much going to be some pieces of wood, some really cool stone that I picked up, and I can't remember the name of the stone. Unfortunately, I don't have that in front of me, but I found this stone that is just absolutely beautiful. It looks like river rock, but it's got a really cool design on the stones. They all look the same, which is very nice because they're very uniform. Various different sizes, obviously, but the stone themselves are just, they've got some beautiful character to them that are, you can see that same character in every stone. So I'm not going to show you that tank right now because right now it's a mess, and I don't want to get into that. But the bottom line is that the intention is to go forward with this project and to get it done here in the next couple of weeks to a month. And I apologize for the delay on that, but probably all of you are dealing with the same issues. If you have more than one or two tanks in your gallery, or as a hobby, if you've got multiple tanks like I do all over your studio, your office, and your home, then you know that right now it is a difficult time with everything that's going on in the world to get some things. So we're working on that. I'm hoping that that's going to resolve itself here over the next couple of weeks. So just hang in there with me on that, and we will be getting that done. Now, the second project that I talked about, a friend of mine has a 500-gallon that we were going to be doing that scape, and again we ran into problems. In fact, his home is built, that is all in. They have not moved into the house yet, so they want to delay this until obviously they're moved in and can take care of the fish. But the project there is just something that's just going to be down the road here, more like springtime or late spring, something like that. We'll have to see what happens. And my son's tank, we will actually be doing that this coming week. I've got everything I need for that tank, and we'll go through and do a complete rebuild. We're going to video the whole thing and do a complete rebuild on that tank, and I hope that it is going to be fun to do because it's a really cool little tank. He's got some great fish in there. He's got some beautiful plants in there. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to salvage and reuse most of the plants in there and the wood, and we're going to completely redo the hardscape as far as the rock goes. So we've got some different kind of rock that we're going to be looking at. Right now he has dragonstone in there, and I think we're going to switch over to something a little more colorful. We're kind of leaning towards maple stone right now, but we'll see how that goes. So anyways, that's really it. And it's like I said, it's just a crazy time to be in this hobby because it's so hard to get anything, so hard to go out and about with people. This COVID thing has just really become a bigger issue as the winter months have come on here, and so it's a little bit scary to go out and about and do things. And I'm not at an age where I'm at tremendous risk, but I just don't want to deal with it. I'm not interested in getting COVID just because I went out and got some supplies for my hobby and ended up getting sick or something like that, or getting someone else sick. So the bottom line is that some of these things have been delayed, but they're not urgent in any way, shape, or form. We've been kind of filling in videos here and there, and I appreciate everybody hanging in there with me and just being so kind to hang in there and talk with me in the comments about things that are going on with your tanks. And I covered a couple of topics that were going on with some of my tanks here, and specifically I think we talked about apistogrammas, we talked about the breeding of the swordtails over there, the Berlin koi swordtails, and that's all been kind of fun, but it's something that is just fill-in material. It doesn't really do the same thing for me. I like to be on camera, I like to talk to you and be specific about what I'm doing, and I hope you can appreciate that. Anyways, when we come back, we're going to summarize what we've talked about here, and we're going to talk about a few more things, about some unboxings that we're going to be doing over the next couple of weeks. So hang in there with me and I'll be right back. So I just wanted to add into this video here that this is the Fiji cube that I've been talking about. Probably the last time you saw this, these plants were nowhere near as big as they are, and you'll notice that the angelfish that were in this tank are gone already. Now this tank right now is a little bit hazy because I did a water change this morning of about 50%, and usually within a couple hours this settles out, but it's only been about an hour, hour and a half since I did that water change. Now, as you'll notice in here, this is really just a bunch of tetras. There are some Harlequin rasporas in here. I think 4 that I threw in here just simply because I didn't have a home for them. This has been kind of the catch-all tank for a lot of the fish that I have right now that I don't have a specific place that I want to put them. Now, as you can see, the crypts and stuff in here have grown substantially. And of course the Anubias Nana that's in here is doing really well, and I even have some Anubias Petite, as you can see right in here. And what we're going to be doing with this tank though is completely removing everything that's in here and rebuilding the tank completely. So that's going to be kind of interesting to see as I get that build done. So again, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because there isn't anything really new to report on this tank other than waiting on some supplies here, waiting on fish, and then we'll get going on redoing this tank completely. But the plants are extremely healthy, no algae issues, nothing. Just, as I said, a little bit of haze to the tank right now simply because I just did a water change within the last hour of about 50% in this tank, which I tend to do about every 4 weeks, as I've told you in my other videos. Today just happened to be the day for that. I wasn't going to show you this tank, but I thought, you know, I'll take 2.5 minutes here just to kind of show you what's going on. Anyways, when I come back, like I said, we're going to summarize this video and talk about a little bit more about angelfish and what I think you can do to prevent yourself from having any problems, and we'll get to that in just a second here. So a quick note here, over the next couple of weeks I am going to be doing some unboxing on some products that are really going to be interesting, and I hope you'll join me for that. I'm not going to take a lot of time on it, but it has to do with some filters that I've come across, some really great canister filters that I am going to be getting sponsored by here. They're going to be sending those to me, and I should have those in the next few weeks. And if I do get those on time, as I said, mail has been kind of goofy or whatever, but we'll do some unboxing here and go through those. And also I have found a really great surprise product that I'm not going to tell you about right now, but it's really going to be exciting, and it's going to be very, very interesting for those of you who are really into high tech and you really want to take your hobby as far as animation and technical ways of running all of your systems and everything to the next level. You're really going to appreciate that. So stick with us on that, and we'll be doing that in the next few weeks. So just to summarize what we talked about here, one last thing on the angelfish there is just be careful when you're buying angelfish, that you learn from my experience here that when you buy these fish and they're about the size of a quarter, it's really hard to sex them. How I ended up with 4 mating pairs, I couldn't have done that if I wanted to on purpose. You just can't sex those fish at that age. So it's really incredible that it just kind of worked out that way. But again, not great for a community tank when you have that situation going on, and certainly not great when you have tanks that are just 20 gallons. Putting some angelfish in here with some other fish is not a problem, but if you do have a mating pair, as I said, try to avoid that. I threw some video in there about the Fiji Cube Peninsula that's going to have the discus fish there. I hope you get a good understanding of what that tank might be looking like in the future. Like I said, everything's going to be out of there. I've said this in a previous video. I don't think I mentioned that today, but nothing going to be in there except for the cardinal tetras. So it's going to be discus fish, 3 of them, along with some cardinal tetras, but other than that, just the bottom feeders, autosynclus, and some cory tetras, and some Siamese algae eaters. Really, that's going to be the extent of the tank. So that's going to be a fun project coming up. And my son's tank next week, we should have some video out on that. That's also going to be fun, and we'll do a full, a full vlog of that where we're actually doing the teardown and the build right away, right there, live on camera. Not live, but I mean a vlog type video, so that you can see step by step how that all went down. That's going to be a fun little project. Right now, that's really about it. Hit that like button. Comment down below. I love to hear from you guys about the different things. Lots of questions that people have been asking me lately about a lot of the different videos that I've done. The channel is growing. I really never thought that the channel would get to this level. It's not huge by any means, but I can see when people talk about, if you're putting out good content and you're hitting on the issues or a specific topic, I should say, that people are interested in, then they keep coming back, and that's what I'm seeing. And I'm seeing a lot of new subscribers, and I hope that if you are watching this and you are not subscribed, please do subscribe and also like. I really appreciate that. Also, if you want to make sure that you're catching any new content that I have coming out, hit the bell up here. I will put a little spot up here for where that bell is. If you're new to the channel, thank you for joining me today. If you're somebody that is a regular here, really appreciate you so much. I really do. I hope you'll share these videos with your friends and let them know about the channel. Just nothing but good things coming up. COVID has been really, really hard to build a channel around. It really has. I've seen people that were into this hobby before COVID that were thriving, and their channels have really taken a hit unless you're putting out a video every couple of days, which I am trying to do. And unfortunately, I have not been on those videos, but I have been trying to put some content out just to remain relevant and have a presence on YouTube here. So I really do appreciate everybody that's watched this video today. Again, like, subscribe. Thank you so much for joining me today. That's it. I will see you on the next one. Until then, we're out of here.